Imagine, if you will, a world where the very power you rely on is no longer a slave to massive corporations, governments, or their puppet masters. A world where energy flows from the sky, given freely by the sun, radiant, eternal, and boundless. And yet, in the face of this abundant source of power, we find ourselves shackled, tethered to grids, gasoline, and artificial scarcity. They've convinced us that energy is something that needs to be bought, something that we must endlessly toil to afford. But what if I told you that the technology exists right now for future unbridled independence? Technology that could liberate you from the very system designed to keep you in chains. The answer is as simple as it is elegant: the solar-powered electric bicycle. Let me start by telling you a truth they've buried deep beneath the distractions and consumerism. They don't want you to know that the future has already been built. You see, the concept of the solar-powered e-bike isn't just a modern innovation. It's been around for years, decades even. But every time these designs emerge, they were quietly brushed under the rug, bought out, or their inventors mysteriously silenced. Think about it. Solar panels that could power small electric motors have existed for quite some time, and we've had the knowledge to make compact, long-lasting batteries for years. Yet somehow, you don't see these vehicles everywhere. Why is that? Because your independence, your freedom, does not serve their agenda. A solar-powered e-bike represents autonomy. It represents the ability to go anywhere, anytime, without a single drop of gasoline, without a single cent to the power companies, and that terrifies them. Now consider this. Who really benefits from keeping you dependent on centralized energy sources? The oil companies, with their billions in profits, are an obvious culprit. But it's bigger than that. Governments themselves are complicit, addicted to the taxes, the control, the influence that these industries give them. They claim to be pushing for renewable energy, but only within the confines of what they can still control. Giant solar farms, wind turbines, corporate-owned battery storage. What they're afraid of is decentralization, the idea that you and I could generate our own energy and be done with them entirely. The solar-powered e-bike is the embodiment of that fear, a machine that runs on sunlight, free from the grid, free from gas stations, free from the system entirely. They've lulled you into complacency, telling you that real change will come someday through their policies, through their regulations. But why wait when the technology is already here? What they don't want is for you to realize that you don't need them. You never did. Picture yourself on a solar-powered e-bike. You don't need to refuel because the sun does that for you. No need to plug in, no need to stop at a gas station, no dependence on any centralized system at all. You could charge it while you work, while you rest, while you sleep, and then when you're ready, off you go. Miles of freedom at your fingertips. It sounds almost too good to be true, doesn't it? That's precisely how they want it to sound, like some far-off utopian dream. But it's not a dream. It's a reality that they're hiding from you. Look at the patents for solar-powered vehicles, the breakthroughs that never see the light of day. Look at the small, independent companies developing solar-powered e-bikes and watch as they mysteriously disappear or get swallowed up by corporate giants. They want you in cars, stuck in traffic, burning fuel, paying bills, and remaining shackled to the system they control. Solar-powered e-bikes represent a direct threat to that. If millions of people switched to them, the entire energy landscape would shift. The oil barons would lose their grip, the government would lose its leverage, and the people, us, would finally have the autonomy we deserve. So why aren't these solar-powered e-bikes in every home, on every street, in every garage? Because they've sold you a lie that energy has to be expensive, that transportation has to be limited by infrastructure and fuel. The truth is that the sun gives us more energy in a single hour than humanity could use in a year. It's there for the taking, and all it requires is the will to seize it. They'll tell you that solar technology isn't ready for personal transportation. They'll say it's inefficient, that the batteries aren't there yet. They'll tell you that everything except the truth, that it works, that it's ready, and that they are the ones holding it back. The reason? Control. If you don't need to fill up at their stations or plug into their grid, they lose control over you, and control is the real currency in this game. But what they fear most is already happening. People are waking up to the reality that they don't need to stay plugged into the machine. This isn't about a bike. This is about power, your power, the power to break free from a system that exploits you, the power to decide how you move, where you go, and how you generate the energy to get there. It's about self-reliance, about taking back control over your own destiny. Imagine a future where every person has access to an affordable, reliable, solar-powered e-bike. Imagine cities where the streets hum, not with the roar of engines, but with the quiet, clean whir of solar motors. Imagine communities not bound by the limits of fuel availability or the reach of power lines, but by the limitless energy of the sun. They want to keep you in a cycle of dependence on oil, on electricity, on infrastructure. But we have the tools, the knowledge, the technology to break that cycle. Solar-powered e-bikes are more than just transportation. They are symbols of the freedom they fear most, the freedom to live outside of their control. It's time to reclaim what's been suppressed for too long. It's time to stop waiting for change to come from the top. It won't. Change comes from the bottom, from people like you and me deciding that enough is enough. Let them keep their oil wells, their electric grids, their bureaucratic red tape. We don't need them. The future doesn't belong to the corporations or the government. It belongs to those who will seize it, to those who realize that freedom is generated by the sun, powered by human will. The solar-powered e-bike is more than just a means of transportation. It's a revolution on two wheels, a quiet rebellion against the forces that have kept us dependent for far too long. You can be part of that revolution. You can choose independence, self-reliance, and freedom. The world is waking up, and they can't stop it. Solar-powered e-bikes are no longer a suppressed dream. They are a beacon of hope, of what's possible when we take control of our own destiny. Every pedal stroke, powered by the sun, is a step away from the chains they've tried to bind us with. So what will you choose? Dependence or freedom? Stagnation or revolution? The future is here, and it's solar-powered. The only question is, will you take your power back?